Bitcoin is going bipolar today. Let's take a look at it. Bitcoin has been up and down. This is Bitcoin on the hourly right here. Just popped up as I'm recording this to 31,539 off of the low wick down of 29,200, unwinding this move of yesterday. So interesting price action on Bitcoin. Here's Ethereum doing the same thing. Avalanche, Solana, Matic, Cardano. Link popped off a little bit above the range. Crypto.com, Aave, everything doing the same thing. So what the heck is going on? Let's zoom out and we can see this range that Bitcoin's been in since really the end of May, first couple of days in June, first week in June, really. And as we continue to zoom out, it starts to look a little bit different. And we've got this real consolidated bipolar sideways range where Bitcoin's just up and down and up and down and up and down, trading from after this initial drop down to the 25.4, really a tight little range. If you check the wick low of about 28,000 up to 32,000, but more specifically in the range of about 28.7 to, in general, without these big pops, about 30,000. Then you get the pops up into the 31.2 range, 31.3. For the most part is the highest range. So what is going on here? So a lot of this is shorts and longs getting liquidated, because what will happen is when you're right here, everybody's going short, so they get liquidated. And then right here, everybody's going long, so they get liquidated. So this is a huge liquidity grab here where the market makers are just ripping people left and right and grabbing liquidity for the next leg down. Otherwise, they would just go ahead and rip this thing up to the next leg up, right? So this is just accumulation, rip it up, distribute, accumulation, rip it up, distribute. So it's just happening over and over and over. And we've seen it kind of all the way along this pattern here. And then when you drill, this is the 4 hour, you can kind of see it even more clear. This was the big range that Bitcoin was doing this in before it consolidated into this tight range. If you look at the daily, you can see it even more. How these ranges, this is where we were. Now here's where we are, just tight little range as price just continues to work its way up. And yesterday, still another lower high. So interesting price action going on. And then we took a look at the weekly, couple of things here that we're monitoring. Let's see how price is doing. We're looking at the moving average, that 200-week moving average that Bitcoin is closing in on. Again, we talked about the longer it huddles up in this area, the higher this 200-week moving average is. Doesn't mean it has to go there. Doesn't mean it's gonna go there or meet there, but it has pretty much every time in the history of Bitcoin that it's broken below the 100, it goes down and either breaks below or checks the 200. So, it's about probabilities. It's about what's likely to happen. And given the macroeconomic climate, then, all expectations are that Bitcoin will repeat its past. Here's that Gaussian channel that we were watching yesterday where it just flashed red for the first time, where it generally stays. Let's go ahead and go on the log scale here, where it stays in the red zone for quite a while, almost a year. Each time it pops down, it stays down underneath of it. Well, let's just look at that right now. When it pops down below the Gaussian, that is about generally 133 days. Last time before that, it was below the Gaussian for, well, let's go to this point here where it got back up 294 days, somewhere in that time frame. So 294, to 100 and what was this one? 133 days. So let's say this time it does 120 days. And because it just seems to be going less and less. So that puts us into basically, August, September timeframe. So, that would be consistent with the timeframes that Bitcoin has been traveling in here recently. And let's get back out of here and take a look at how the Bitcoin hash ribbon indicator is doing. And this is on the weekly. The minor hash rate is crossing down below that moving average. And we're waiting for a capitulation signal, something like what we had over here back in last year's time frame. And it looks like that initial signal, the big one came in after the bottom, but the initial signal started right around the red flashed on the capitulation signal, right around April 21st in this area here. Then price just dumped, over a couple of weeks, pretty much straight down. And then there was the final capitulation to the end before the blue buy signal hashed pretty close, or flashed pretty close to the bottom there. So the question is, are we going to see something like this again here, where prices kind of dropped, consolidating a little bit here, go down one more leg, and ultimately start the cycle over again? And all we really have to look at that is, past history. And that's kind of what you've seen back in 2018. Price dropped down, bounced, had some nice little bear market rallies. This one here was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks straight up before that entire move unwound. And then a couple of weeks up, a couple of weeks down, up and down till that final capitulation where that buy signal would flash again, the capitulation signal again, flashing after the moving average is crossed, jumped into the red zone here, and then flashed down to the bottom of the cycle. So it looks like, what about 2014? Don't have a whole lot of real good information on 2014. Really, 2018 is the closest thing we have. So is that what we're going to be looking at? We'll just have to wait and see how this whole move shakes out. Let's take a look at where we're at here before we wrap this up. But, right now, by all intents and purposes, everybody's going short here when it's at the bottom. So liquidate all the shorts. Everybody's going long right here, looking for that breakout. So what do? You reverse it and liquidate them back down. So price could bounce in this range. Good liquidity grab here, good 7% moves for the market makers to really shake people up and extract value from the market, really, really frustrate people. What's the best way to inflict the most pain and extract the most value and frustrate the heck out of people is up, down, up, down, up, down, and just get everybody's hopes up, crush them, get everybody's hopes up, crush them. The problem is you don't know when this is going to be over and the final leg is going to be down. So you got to make sure that you're protecting yourself to the downside, watching out for that. So these are the things that I am looking at on Bitcoin today. Bitcoin, the bipolar. I'll see you in the next video.